angle. Just as in 2016, there is no politician in America today who has a better read on what the voters want than Donald Trump.
What does the president understand that other politicians don't?
He understands the people.
We are small business owners, and I think he gets that. He helps out the small people.
He's doing what he said he was going to do, so that's why as Hispanics, we need to support him.
Tonight in Houston at a rally for Ted Cruz, President Trump had a massive crowd. Local reports say that 18,000 packed the venue, with thousands more stuck outside. But we're not just talking about excited rally attendees. The new data from NBC News out today may provide a strong indication that the Democrats' hope of a blue wave may be receding. Republican voters are outpacing Democrats in early voting in 7 key states: Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Montana, Tennessee, and Texas. Democrats are leading in that area only in Nevada. And this is where the president's poll numbers are. His overall approval rating is as high as it's ever been. Today's MSNBC show should have been renamed In Mourning Joe.
Think about that. Nearly half of the people in this country approve of the job this man is doing, even after Charlottesville, porn stars, his humiliation in Helsinki, bowing to Kim Jong-un, ripping babies from their mothers, calling Hispanics breeders, destroying America's most critical alliances, and bankrupting our country. And we could go on.
Lions and tigers and bears. Oh, my. She ran out of breath there. The facial expressions and the demeanor, well, it looked a lot like, I don't know, election night.
I would submit that the acceptance of a deeply, deeply, deeply dishonest president, the acceptance of that among people is the single most important issue of our day.
But once again, from the cushy confines of their Manhattan studios, well, they don't understand the obvious. People across the country vote their pocketbooks, and they may just choose results over resistance. Republicans are trouncing Democrats by 15 points in the margin for handling the economy.
The top issue is the economy. 38% of voters said that's their top issue, and Republicans in this poll are winning on that issue by the largest margin, I think it said, in the history of the NBC Wall Street Journal poll. But in this NBC Wall Street Journal poll, Republicans win among those on the question of who's going to bring about change to Washington, which is a very strange dynamic for a midterm election like this.
And as Raymond Arroyo will explain later, the big issue on the voters' minds today in Texas was immigration, specifically the so-called caravan. Now, here's the Merriam-Webster definition of the word caravan. It's a noun. Well, you can have it as an adjective, but we're doing the noun. A company of travelers on a journey through a desert or hostile regions. Also, a train of pack animals. Secondary, a group of vehicles traveling together, as in a file. A covered wagon or motor vehicle equipped as traveling living quarters. What? That doesn't really work, does it, for what we're seeing here? The word caravan colloquially connotes something kind of fun, festive, desirable. Well, yet other descriptions come to mind among Americans and legal immigrants watching this all play out.
I'm a disabled veteran. I have to live in poverty, and yet these people can come walking across our border, and they're welcomed with open arms, and they're taken care of, and it's just a shame.
I'm a legal immigrant, and I support our president, and I'm against illegal immigration. Liberals, they just want these migrants to come here for votes.
I'm an African-American conservative. African-Americans are super against illegal immigrants. These jobs that African-Americans used to do are taken over by illegal immigrants, and we love President Trump.
That's a pretty diverse group there. And sometimes reporters actually let the truth slip out.
Hundreds of Mexican federal police bearing shields and armor. But just as the migrants approached, the officers pulled back, setting up again 3 miles down the road and again retreating for the second time.
Por favor, escúchenos.
Mexican immigration officials pleading with them to register for asylum, but most kept walking.
Yeah, most walk right by. It's called wanton law breaking. True refugees fleeing oppression will encamp wherever they can away from their place of origin, which is dangerous. In other words, well, they'd stay in Mexico. On Friday, Mexico began registering hundreds of migrants, but most just burst past the barricades in flagrant violation of the law. Mexican police were also badly injured. Legitimate seekers of asylum, they must live in credible fear of government repression based on religious, racial, or ethnic identity. Home country violence and government corruption, as terrible as they are, and whether it's in Central America or anywhere else, are not sufficient bases for asylum, nor is the desire just to get a better job or live a better life, lest we in the United States be willing to welcome in hundreds of millions of people from across the globe, all on the U.S. taxpayer. So who are these migrants? Well, according to a Mexican newspaper, it's 14,000 in number, up from the initial 1,600 just last week. They're mostly working-age males. A far smaller number of women and children. You usually see them out in front. Many have friends and or family already in the United States, many of those illegal. Of course, they're impoverished with little to no English-speaking skills at all. They're from Honduras, Guatemala, and many from Mexico. Others, we don't know where they're from, and it's undetermined how many have documents at all, how many have health problems, or even criminal records. The president today told reporters to do some digging instead of just the gauzy, easy sob story reporting.
You know what you should do, John? Go into the middle of the caravan, take your cameras and search. Okay? Search. No. Take your camera, go into the middle and search. You're going to find MS-13, you're going to find Middle Eastern, you're going to find everything. And guess what? We're not allowing them in our country.
Well, one thing is clear. They know that there is protection in numbers, that if they flood the zone, they'll be able to overwhelm Border Patrol officials as they did in Guatemala and in Mexico.
The migrants on the bank of the Suchiate gasp and cheer as she is lowered to the raft. Si se puede, they chant. Yes, we can.
Does that sound familiar? Si se puede? Well, if it does, of course, it's because back in 2008, Obama, the candidate, actually stole that slogan from amnesty activists, I think here in the United States. Well, it's no wonder the mobile mob feels emboldened. After vowing not to allow them through Mexico, its police force is actually now providing an escort to the migrant caravan, if you can believe that. Now, does this sound like or look like something that most Americans think is a good idea? It doesn't matter where people come from, whether they come from Central America, Europe, any part of the world. If they come illegally, guess what? Most Americans think it's not fair. And Donald Trump knows this. Now, when he says he wants to stop this mobile mob, a lot of people calling it invasions, most Americans see it as not just an economic burden, and it is one, but a flagrant flouting of the rule of law as well. Of course, national security issues, health issues. And like Kavanaugh, it does come down to a basic sense of fairness. Not only would allowing this crush of people into our country be an insult to the millions of Americans who went through the legal process, how is it fair to those Americans who need assistance today and are not getting it? Like the 40,000 homeless veterans on the street on any given night. Trump knows that the answer is the following: America first. And that's the angle.